Hey everyone. So Cenk Uygur came under a lot of fire today, and I kind of wanted to make a video going over where I disagree with what he had to say and then where I agree with what he had to say. And so first, let me start off with the tweet that kind of sparked it all. So Donald Trump tweeted, "Well-run states should not be bailing out poorly run states, using coronavirus as the excuse. The elimination of sanctuary cities, payroll taxes, and perhaps capital gains taxes must be put on the table. Also, lawsuit indemnification and business deductions for restaurants and ent." And so this is basically Donald Trump laying out what I feel like some would be some pretty terrible policies. I mean, eliminating the capital gains tax, payroll taxes, getting rid of sanctuary cities. I mean, none of these things are things that I agree with. I think that it's super important that we have a capital gains tax. Payroll taxes are important. And I mean, I'm like as pro immigration as you can get. So I would definitely be totally against getting rid of sanctuary cities. And so terrible tweet on Donald Trump's part. And then Cenk Uygur had this to say about it. So if we had a Democrat with balls when we take over, they'd cut off funding to red states and make them beg for their handout. Almost all of them are welfare queens who live off the blue states. Republican run states are, on average, miserable failures who take more from federal government. And so this tweet sparked a lot of controversy, and I think that some of that controversy is super justified. I think that this was a terrible take from Cenk Uygur. This is one of his worst opinions, in my opinion. But I also do feel like certain aspects of this tweet have been blown way out of proportion. But like let's just say I I don't think that he actually thinks that this is a good policy. I don't. I like to think that this is just him being a little hyperbolic, a little exaggerating. I really like to believe that this isn't something that he actually believes. Um, I could be way off on that. I may be being too generous. But so where is he right on this? So I do believe that he's right that Republican run states do take more from the federal government than Democrat run states. Obviously there's like a spectrum within that, and so like I think that he's probably right on that substance. But where I feel like he is just completely wrong, and just his logic just really escapes me because it goes against what I know that he believes on other issues, um, is the idea that the people in the red states should suffer, like if a Democrat was in office, because that is essentially what he's saying. Because when you cut off funding to the red states, like you're not like punishing the Republican leaders in the way that you think you are. You're punishing the people in those states with hopes that like I don't know that they'll like turn on their Republican leaders. I think that it's silly, and the reason why I think that this is such a ridiculous take from Cenk is because he is so against the sanctions against Iran. He is so against them, like because we have these debilitating sanctions against Iran right now. The U.S. does, and he is very against that because these sanctions don't hurt the people at the top; they hurt the people at the bottom. And like Cenk, what do you think cutting off funding to red states would do for the people in those red states? The people who need that funding the most would be hurt the worst by it. And so I think that this is a terrible take because of that. I really hope that he's not being serious. Unfortunately, he did double down to an extent. And so maybe this is something that he truly believes, but I think that is, like I said, just a terrible take. Um, but so let's take a look at some of the responses to this tweet. Oh wait, this. All right. So all right, not this one. So one response to this was that this is racist and classist and just a generally horrific view for literally anyone to take, let alone someone who claims to be progressive. Cenk was never progressive, but a lot of progressives insist he was. And so this is just one tweet. I mean, all right, one tweet. There were tons of tweets about what Cenk Uygur had to say, and almost all of them negative. I mean, I don't think I saw like a single positive tweet about what he said, which I mean says a little bit about the quality of the take. But I feel like what this person has to say misses the mark slightly. Not slightly, in a bit of a big way and in a bit of a small way. So where I think that the owner of this tweet is correct is that saying that it is a little I wouldn't use the word classist, but I mean it does just ignore the people at the bottom that it would hurt. I wouldn't use the word classist, but I do think that that is I get the sentiment that she's trying to express with that. But where I think that she's incorrect on is saying that it's racist. And where she's drawing that it's racist is from Cenk Uygur used the term welfare queen. And welfare queen was a term that was coined by Ronald Reagan, referring to black women that were using like food stamps and unemployment benefits, and basically this idea that like they're just living off of welfare and that they're contributing nothing to society, and they're living, the terminology queen is that, they're living high and mighty off food stamps, and it's a ridiculous notion. And so Cenk Uygur was using that statement pejoratively. He wasn't like actually using it in the way that Ronald Reagan used it. He was using it as like an ironic way because that's what Republicans refer to people on welfare. And so it's similar to when progressives will call Republicans snowflakes when they freak out about things, because Republicans love to call leftists snowflakes. Oh, they're so soft, they're so soft. And then when Republicans have their own outrage culture, which exists, Republican outrage culture 100% exists. Don't let people think that that is something unique to the left. And so when Republicans do that, some people like to call Republicans snowflakes for doing that. That's not because leftists coined the term snowflakes. It's just they're trying to use it ironically to make fun of them, because that's what they always say, when it shows that they're being hypocritical. And so Cenk Uygur is trying to do that with his usage of welfare queens. Should he or should he not have used it? Me personally, I'm just not as sensitive to words like that. I get what he's trying to say. He's trying to point out the hypocrisy of what red states are doing. So I think that it is incorrect to refer to this as being racist, but it was poorly worded in the sense, I don't know. I don't think that Cenk Uygur would have anticipated the backlash to this, and I don't think it would have gotten the same backlash if he had just called them welfare queens. But to say that they shouldn't get the funding is where I personally really draw the line, and I know that a lot of people really draw that line. But a lot of people were saying that this tweet was racist on Cenk's part. I think that's incorrect. I don't think that Cenk Uygur is racist. I think that he is a strong fighter for minority groups of across all the spectrums. He's a strong fighter for minority groups. And so that has to get with the second part of this tweet, where I also feel like the owner of this tweet was way off. So Cenk was never progressive, but a lot of progressives insisted he was. This is just false. This is just completely false. Like, bad take by Cenk. And that's something that I think that is good about the left, is that we do. I'm comfortable. I like Cenk Uygur a lot, but I'm comfortable criticizing what he's saying, because I think he's wrong. He's wrong about it, and I'm not going to just pretend that he's right just because I like him. I think he's wrong. But to say that he's not progressive, that's just faulty. Cenk Uygur is one of the biggest advocates for Medicare for all. He's one of the biggest advocates for free college. He's one of the biggest advocates for making the minimum wage a living wage. He's one of the biggest advocates for a Green New Deal. He's one of the biggest advocates for ending all of these senseless wars that we're a part of. He is arguably a huge reason why AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, why any of them are even in Congress, because he was a co-founder of the organization Justice Democrats, which is how they got into office. Obviously, those four individuals did a lot on their own, but he sparked that Justice Democrats. Like, he was a co-founder of Justice Democrats. He founded Wolfpack, which is a group that was designed to try and get money out of politics. One of what I feel the most important issue in U.S. politics, getting money out of the system. Cenk Uygur, that's his number one issue. He is a firm fighter for that. He's been fighting for it for years. Cenk Uygur has been right on the issues for so many years, longer than just about every elected politician right now, besides Bernie Sanders. Cenk is the guy on many issues. And yeah, does he say stupid stuff sometimes? Yes, he says a lot of stupid things that I really don't agree with. But when it comes to the issues, he is right 95% of the time. This, he is wrong on. But to say that he's not a progressive is just ridiculous. And so let me just show you guys the tweet that Cenk said, where he kind of doubled down on this. For all the liberals hating on this tweet, let's go over how this normally works. 1, Republicans do a terrible thing to us. 2, we complain. 3, we don't fight back. 4, if anyone on our side fights back, we attack them as uncivil. 5, we lose. And so I get what he's saying there. He is kind of criticizing the people that said that he was being like racist for his tweet, and like, oh, he was like being, because he didn't swear, but he used a little bit more raunchy language than people are usually accustomed to. And so he's thinking that that is where the bulk of his criticism comes from, and that is where a lot of the people who are upset with this tweet were talking about, and I think that they were wrong to criticize that aspect. But I do think that it was a terrible tweet, and that should have been criticized, because it just goes against what I thought were principles of his. Like, I just couldn't understand his logic to simultaneously say the sanctions against Iran are bad, but then to say we should cut off funding to red states, not realizing that those have the exact same implications. and so it's hard to wrap my head around. I hope that he starts to see more clearly on this issue, once he has more time to think about it, and I'm sure that the backlash has some effect on him. Hopefully, it doesn't just cause him to double down harder on it. And so yeah, so I really enjoyed Cenk Uygur. I mean, I wish he had won his congressional seat. I wish that he. I really like the guy. I think he's right on so many issues. But he's wrong on this one, and he is wrong on issues from time to time. But he is still a progressive. He's still a progressive leader, in my opinion. Um, Good political instincts sometimes, not in this instance. But anyway, I'm sure that there are definitely people who disagree with my opinions on Cenk Uygur and probably this tweet too. So if you guys do disagree, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. But if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.